January. We're halfway through the meteorological winter, and the cold has the country in an iron grip. The first weeks of the year offered the most severe cold spell in Europe for over 2 decades. But despite the weeks with the worst cold snap, January has been milder than usual. Already in a week or so, the forecast promises rising temperatures and rain. Until then, though, I make sure to keep a steady fire burning in the stove.
Men det sätter man på med glasyr, inte med lim. Det är kyligt.
The morning chores start as usual, with filling up feed for the chickens. All the while the tractor runs warm, waiting to drive bales to the grazing animals. With more than 3 months of winter chores ahead of us, the longing for light and warmth is slowly creeping in.
What a beautiful day. Beautiful morning here on the farm. It's pretty cold, but it's been colder, so it still feels okay. And it's these extremes that really put flavor in life. Once you've worked through and lived through days of minus 24, minus 25, when it's only minus 7 like it is today, wonderful. It's you feel gratitude for the small things in life, and I think that's really important. So as winter is here, things are slowing down. It gives a little bit more time for, contemplation and reflection, which I think is really important in life. It's important to take a pause from the hamster wheel, from the scrolling, from all the distractions that we have. It's important to spend some time every day, I think, just taking in life. Like, there's beauty everywhere. You don't need to live in a place like this to experience it. There can be beauty in a puddle of water on the street, or in the way the shadow of a tree falls on the side of a building. Things are really extraordinary, and it's so easy to miss. I'm guilty of that just as much as anybody. But recently I've been thinking about these issues quite a lot, and you can't let the atrocities of the world kill your spirit to live and do good and believe in a better future. Because a lot of the mood of the period of how things are today, the way people experience the world, is not solely based on how things are. It's mostly based on what people expect for the future and where people think society and the world is going. So if you ask somebody on the street how they feel about the current state of affairs, they'll probably say it's bad, it's really bad, and it's going in the wrong direction. They're talking more about the future and their expectation of it than how things are for them maybe right now. So I think that's important to remember when we convince ourselves that, you know, things are so bad, there's nothing to do, we can't improve things. We need to remember that this is a belief that we hold, and beliefs should be challenged, and then we should make a choice, an active choice. What kind of belief serves me best? What kind of belief makes me happier? What kind of belief, you know, makes the world around me and makes life better for my neighbors, for my family, for my friends, for the society around me, and then, you know, maybe it has a ripple effect out into the world, who knows. But yeah, winter, downtime, pondering big questions in life. I think it's really good to take some time off, both social media and the hectic hamster wheel of summer. But yeah, enough of that. I'm going to do some work now. We need to put the eggs in the fridge for the egg subscribers, people who buy eggs from us. And then I need to drive a bale to the steers. They are, they need a new bale. So let's do that, and then we'll see what happens rest of the day. What a beautiful morning. So I'm just writing down, keeping track of all the straw and all the bales that we're using, so that I know from year to year how much I'm using. So gives me a good idea at the end of the summer if I'm gonna have enough feed and straw bedding or not. On the straw side, it's not looking very good right now, to be honest. I think I'm gonna run out. And yeah, I'm looking around. I have some colleagues. Everyone is short on straw around here though, because it was such bad conditions during the combine, during the harvest, when the winter wheat had to come in. The day after they combined, we got about 20 millimeters of rain on the straw, so it needed like 3 or 4 good dry days to really be baleable or able to bale. So we had a very short window between that rain and the next rain. So anyway, that's the situation, and I'm trying to be very, very careful with the straw right now. Just using as little as I need in order to keep the animals dry and clean. But it's not easy. It's a little bit of a headache, but we'll see. Most things do work out in the end, so I need to go have a look if there are any more trees that have fallen over the fence here.
It's difficult to fully describe how grateful I am to be able to give my animals access to the outdoors all year round. I notice they seem happy to enjoy the large areas they have to explore. For me, the little woodland paddock behind the barn has become like a small oasis of calm to wander in every now and then. Although I'm always on the lookout for things to fix and mend and change, I think the soul gets a rest and a moment for the mind to relax. Although the life of the cattle does not seem to be very stressful, I think they too experience a similar feeling of well-being when they take their daily walk in between the trees. The new water for the chickens took some time to figure out how it worked at first. But now, after a few weeks of use, I couldn't be more happy. The secret is to clean it often from dirt and debris that clogs the float mechanism, whose job it is to keep the water level in the cup below from overflowing. It's said that a balanced diet is having a cookie in each hand. Ask my children, and they would agree. My oldest has recently taken an interest in baking. With flour, sugar, butter, and raspberry jam, he manages to bake small heavenly cookies that he can sell to passers-by in the shop. I help him with bags and labels and keep an eye on when the cookies start running out. For me, it's always been important to feel a sense of security in life, that I can be creative and stand on my own 2 feet. Selling cookies may not be what he wants to do for the rest of his life, but it probably gives him a little feeling that he can take care of himself and discover opportunities where they previously wouldn't otherwise have existed. A knowledge I believe many children and young people of today would need to experience when growing up in a world that changes so quickly. Being creative, thinking bigger, and being curious about solving problems are probably the most important qualities you can have when entering adulthood. As a father, I can at least hope that this is the kind of experience that leaves a little positive memory for life, that he can both do something that helps others, while at the same time becoming richer for both experiences, and yes, a little money is always nice, even if dad is the one paying for the ingredients. It's dusk, and another working day is coming to an end. I think morning and dusk are the moments of the day I appreciate the most. Perhaps because both invite us to a moment of reflection. One to see what opportunities and challenges that lie ahead, and the other to ask ourselves, can I feel proud and satisfied with how I used the time I was given? Have I lived as if my life mattered? Perhaps we can even put this question into a slightly larger perspective, one that is not only about a day, but perhaps a year, or maybe even a lifetime. Moments for this kind of reflection are important for the brain to sort, rest, and just think freely. Something that we lose when we get lost in our individual bubbles on social media. A philosopher once wrote, "You need 3 things to live a good life: a meaningful relationship, a decent job, and a sense that you can make a difference." So many of our dreams about what life we think is right for us is probably not really based on what we really want. Maybe a rich life is not as far away or inaccessible as we think. Maybe we're looking in the wrong places, among material possessions and status, which in the long run make us feel even more empty, lonely, and disconnected. Instead of seeking joy and happiness in life, perhaps we should instead seek a sense of feeling whole and well-preserved. Maybe a rich life is in our midst, but we never find it because we're too busy looking for the wrong things.
So it's the last week of January now. Yep. And that means that we have officially either passed or we're in the middle of the winter season where the animals are home on the farm, where they're dependent on, us feeding them and then giving them straw and everything. So it's a great time now to go through how much straw I have, how much hay I have, how much silage I have for the rest of the season, because they've been home for 3 months and they'll be out on grazing again. Hopefully we'll start at the end of April, beginning of May, so that's 3 months from now. So straw, maybe we'll have enough. Silage and hay, definitely. We are, I might have at least 50 bales over, I think, at the end of the season, so I'm very grateful and happy about that. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to go through the grazing season 2024, so to see how, what decisions do I need to make now during the spring in order to prepare, because I do have more animals now than I did at last season. And last season was a strange summer, as many might remember, because we had drought at the beginning of the summer, and then we had all the rain came during August and September, making the first cut silage and hay very meager. We got about 50% of what we usually get, and it made it really difficult to harvest the straw and the wheat combining at the end of the summer. So it was a tricky one, but it's it's impossible to know how the summer will be. Nobody can say for certain, but the trends look as if the El Nino effect is going to have a stronger effect on the climate
and the weather during the season 24 than it did season 23. As many of you remember, 23 was the first year of the new El Nino, and now it's going to be even more intense. So that means that the likelihood for a longer period of heat waves and drought is very likely, and then maybe we'll get a period after that with lots of rain. So maybe a little bit like last summer. Last summer was very tricky, and it led to a lot of flooding here in Sweden at least, and I know down in Europe as well, and the heat waves were absolutely crazy down in Italy and France and Spain. But that affects us, and it affects my decisions right now. So I'd rather start the summer with a little bit fewer animals so that I am ready for a potential drought. And if the drought doesn't come and we end up having a lot of rain and the grass is growing really well, then I can always sort of mob graze the areas quicker so that the grass doesn't grow away from us, to keep the grass at a good height. You don't need to take it all down, but keep it at a good height so that the animals, it's still manageable and the animals can come back and graze it later. Putting a bigger herd into a smaller space and moving them more quickly is one way of dealing with that issue, but it's harder to sort of adapt to a situation where you're out of grazing, where you don't have any feed. If there is a drought, I would still need to have less animals in the next winter season 24, because just due to the fact that feed is going to be more expensive or harder to come by, and we're probably going to get less of a hay harvest than we usually get if there's a drought. So that's the reasoning right now, at least, and it's impossible to know, of course, but I'd rather go into every summer assuming the worst, and then if it's a better situation, then that's good, it's manageable. At least I'll try to make sure that I won't find myself in a really difficult situation to get out of. So somebody said that success is when preparation and opportunity meet. And you know, that makes sense.
Was Napoleone Bonaparte, and Napoleone Bonaparte is of course better known as Napoleon Bonaparte, and we are looking at the origins of this titanic figure of French history. And of course we're not in any way jumping on that bandwagon. We would never do that. Never. I mean, I think we've been very conscious of the fact that we haven't really done much about Napoleon in the rest of history. We've done an episode on his venture to Egypt, and we've done some episodes on the Battle of Trafalgar, won by his great British captain.
When I notice that the rams need a new bale, I open up the feeder and spread the last of it in the bedding. Even though I may have enough straw, so I just about can get by this year, I don't want to risk running out before it's time to let the animals out to graze. The silage is still dry enough, so it can be used in the bedding. Raising ewes without lambs is much easier though. They don't need as intense of a feed ration as the rams, and can make do with the lean hay from our meadows that we usually give them over the winter. Rams, on the other hand, grow much faster and need more energy and protein in order not to lose weight over the winter. That's why I usually give them a little extra feed concentrate just to make sure that they keep their weight up. And now, if I'm going to sell some lambs for Easter, I will have to increase their ration just a little and make sure that they get the best feed that I have to offer, at least for the remaining couple of months.
So I think it's hard to put words to just what a relief it is that it's so mild right now. It's about +1, +2 even. And look, I've taken off my jacket, so it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The snow is slowly melting. We're seeing some bare ground in some places, but with the new tires, the tractor is no problem getting up the slippery hills. I'm so happy I got the new tires on the tractor. It's a big investment this year, but boy, does it make a change or a difference. So yeah, and just working, being outside, daily chores is so much easier in when it's not cold. I'm enjoying it so much now, and this is far from any kind of spring, but it's just a small break in winter, and I'm really grateful. So yeah, but some of the morning chores are done. I'm gonna drive a bale to the sheep later this afternoon, and yeah, enjoy the day, I think.
With the milder weather, all the snow from the greenhouse has fallen down and is now pressing on the wind net from the outside. It might not really do that much, but I would like to shovel away the piles of snow so that when the weather turns mild, the snow won't freeze to ice, taking even longer time to thaw come spring. Good thing my neighbor is generous enough to keep lending me this excavator, which saves me many hours of back-breaking work. Plus, it's also pretty fun to drive. Another beautiful and peaceful morning. I've taken on a new chore to help the owners who rent the stable and keep the horses. They asked me if I could help with the morning feed of the horses, which takes me only a few minutes, but means that they can sleep in a little longer and they don't need to take their cart to the farm just to feed the animals. I'm happy to be of help and grateful I can be of service to others, be they animals or people. Chickens are funny animals. Despite the fact that I built 2 new nest boxes for them, and they inherited the ones I built for the older flock from the greenhouse, some of them have decided to lay their eggs on the floor in a corner. Every day I gather around 30 eggs from the floor. Most of them are unfortunately a little bit too dirty to sell. In Sweden, you're not allowed to clean eggs before selling if you don't have an approved facility. Instead, what I do is I wash them with soap and water, let them dry and pack them in boxes to donate to charity. Of course, I lose some money this way by not solving so that the hens lay all their eggs in the nest boxes. Selling 30 eggs a day for a year might make it possible for me to finally take out a small salary from my farm work, but I do have a part-time job and we do make ends meet. So in relation to the struggles of others, I consider myself well off.
Ska vi göra det?
Ja.
After several days of mild temperatures, the snow on the roof of the barn is starting to become a bit dangerous to walk under. It's heavy and hangs over the edge of the gutter, ready to come crashing down on anyone unlucky enough to walk past under it. It's time to bring out a thing I bought several years ago, but haven't really needed to use in recent years. Now I'm glad I have it.
Ja, precis, det också. Jag har så mycket att skotta så det är liksom...
Ja, men det är en onödig årstid, ursäkta.
Ja, men gör man det inte då ångrar man ju sig. För jag har ju mina vindskydd där nere, de pallar ju inte hur mycket snö som helst heller.
Men jag har ju byggt upp för en bastu.
Fan. Nej, alltså när du får igång den, jag vill prenumerera på... Jag ska ha klippkort där tror jag.
Det kommer vara så att vänner får komma basta gratis.
Åh!
Det var men grejen är att jag har sagt till Palme. Nej,
vad sa du?
Jag bygger ju friggebod.
Jaha.
Och då är det 2 rum. Det blir en bastu.
Ja.
På den blir säkert sitta. Och så det som utrymmet står kvar, där kommer det vara ett litet pentry och en soffa och en...
With most of the snow now completely gone from the stack of straw bales, it's time to pull off part of the canvas that protects it from weather and wind. It's actually 2 cloths that lay on top of each other to be long enough to cover the stack when all the straw is baled and brought home late in the summer. Now I've used up about half my supply, so we can pull off one of the cloths. This will make it a lot easier when the next round of snow comes, which of course has to be shoveled away every time I need to pick a bale to bed down the animals. Sometimes I do manage to stay one step ahead of nature. When you ask yourself, what do I want to experience in life? The answer should not just contain a list of things that make you happy, content, and excited. Rather, one should perhaps ask oneself, what struggles am I willing to tolerate? What is worth fighting for? And how do I deal with all the adversities that lie ahead? How can I grow and become better, not only at doing something, but at being human during my time here on this planet? It's questions like these that will prove to play a bigger role in the person you become. It shouldn't be a question of what makes us happy. Instead, what makes us whole? It's important to dare to be bored sometimes. Maybe that's how we discover who we are, what we think is important, and how the world we leave behind us should be.